If a lot of people can put their anger aside and focus on really what's important, for example, the children, and work together, whether it's the mediation or collaboration, not only will they keep their stress and their anxiety down, but they'll get the process done a lot faster. They'll save a ton of money. And it's really not only a win-win for them, but it's also a win-win for the kids.
Welcome to the Drama-Free Divorce Podcast. I'm your host, attorney and mediator, Cary Jacobson. Each week, we bring you practical guidance, real conversations, and expert insights to help you navigate divorce with clarity, confidence, and less conflict. If you're ready for a calmer, more empowered path forward, you're in the right place. All right, so welcome back. I'm your host, Cary Jacobson, attorney, mediator, and founder of Jacobson Family Law, where we help families navigate divorce with clarity, compassion, and dignity. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by someone who has transformed her personal journey through divorce into a powerful public forum, Ilyssa Panitz. Ilyssa is a veteran journalist with more than 25 years of experience covering entertainment, celebrity, and lifestyle news. But after surviving her own harrowing divorce, she made a remarkable career pivot, becoming one of the world's foremost journalists covering divorce. Through her syndicated radio show, The Divorce Hour with Ilyssa Panitz, her television series, Ways Thru Divorce on Your Home TV, and her writing for national outlets, Ilyssa has become a vital voice for millions going through life-changing transitions. Talk about her journey from Hollywood to helping people rebuild their lives after divorce and why she believes education and empathy are the key to healing. Ilyssa, welcome. I am so excited to have you here today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I would love for you to share with our listeners working in journalism and covering celebrities in leading major publications and what, caused your shift from entertainment to focusing on divorce.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for asking. So red carpet, sit down one-on-ones with the Hollywood elite was really what I was doing. And then in 2018, I filed for divorce and I knew nothing about how divorce worked. I thought you just hire an attorney, you're going to sit down, work a few things out, everybody goes their separate ways. I couldn't have been more wrong. I always say I could have started the movie Clueless because I really was clueless. And then fast forward to when the pandemic happened, I was on my third lawyer and just crying from the whole process. I couldn't understand how I was 2 years into this and not knowing one thing about the process. And so while I was working from home, now I was back in news because entertainment shut down. I heard in the background when I was trying to put this newscast together, let's go to the transportation correspondent. Let's go to the education correspondent. Let's go to our lifestyles correspondent. I'm like, where's the divorce correspondent? And I was crying. And I realized there was none. So in my industry, journalists are assigned to what's called a beat. It's just an industry term for subject. Divorce was not a subject. People will talk about it when there's a celebrity divorce, right? But on a day-to-day basis, when you have hundreds and thousands of people dissolving their marriages and nobody knows a thing about what's going on and everybody's feeling so vulnerable, you don't have a dedicated reporter out there to walk them through and explain anything and everything that can happen. I saw a void. So when my job went south, I just said, why not? Everybody else is reinventing themselves. Divorce is about reinvention. Let's just try something new.
That's amazing. You like you said, you saw where there was a hole, a void in what was not being covered, and then you took it upon yourself to do that. That's a wonderful, outlook on doing something that needed to be done.
People think that, because we're doing what I do this, I promote divorce. No. I do not promote divorce. What I do, and my job as a journalist, is to share information you need to know. So we are just taking this one subject and sharing lots of information that people need to know. So that could be, I'm thinking about my divorce. I'm in the beginning of my divorce. I'm in the thick of my divorce. Oh, yay, I'm done. Okay, wait, now what? And that's where, I come in with a team of experts and content for everything to help guide people through this transition because it's very overwhelming. As I said earlier, people feel very vulnerable. I am just becoming, or I have become, a trusted resource to help everybody. We're not pro one side. We're not pro the other side. We are pro information.
100%. And I have had guests on our show as well who were even family law attorneys and did not know some of the pieces of information and about the divorce process and thought that they had to go to litigation. And that to me is so surprising that there are all of these misconceptions out there about the way that the process has to occur. And so that's really why we started this as well, to let people know that there are other ways for them to get divorced other than the traditional path, the contentious litigation path that sometimes happens and sometimes is necessary, but is not the only option.
Yeah. And when people are going through divorce, they don't realize, and you used a great word, that they have options. Right. They just think it's that traditional, I have to hire the pit bull attorney. And that's actually not the case. The High Conflict Institute researched and found that about 20% of all divorces are what are identified as high conflicts. That's when you need, the lawyers that are going back and forth. But if a lot of people can put their anger aside and focus on really what's important, for example, the children, and work together, whether it's through mediation or collaboration, not only will they keep their stress and their anxiety down, but they'll get the process done a lot faster. They'll save a ton of money. And it's really not only a win-win for them, but it's also a win-win for the kids. And I always tell people that should always be where your main focus is, the kids. Do you really want the kids seeing the two of you going at it, screaming, you're on edge, you're not being good to them? And they need that right now. Their foundation is crumbling. And I get it, yours is too. But, kids are really, really scared. And so you can be a much better support system for them if you become the line leader, take the reins and say, you know what, we're not going the whole War of the Roses thing, like, the movie, but we're going to do this very differently. And you know what? I do know people who went via mediation or collaboration, and they actually went off and they got on better terms a lot more quickly than having these like long gaps of years and years and years. And that's just hurtful to everybody.
100%. And that's really why we focus on those non-litigation options, so that people can come out on the other side and have a better co-parenting relationship and be able to focus on the kids.
Listen, not all cases can do that. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month here at the Divorce Hour, which is our syndicated radio show, and we're also a podcast. That's all we cover during the month of October. So we talk about all the different forms of domestic violence. I do understand that in those cases, you may have two parties that cannot be amicable because of the circumstances or the situation. But if the two of you can kind of put on your big girl, your big boy pants or your adult pants on and come to the table and stay focused on, the priorities. My priorities, I want to get this done. My priority is I don't want to spend all the money. My priority is I want to see my kids later and make the T-ball game. You know what? There's so many benefits that can come out of it. And also the most important is you stay in control of the process. Once you go to litigation, you have no voice. So if you don't want all these people making decisions on your life, including a judge who's a complete stranger and gets the final word, stay in control. Use your voice and do what is best for you and your family.
100%. There are those scenarios that need the litigation system because there are scenarios where it is not going to be beneficial or appropriate for them to be able to sit down and come to an agreement. But like you mentioned before, the vast majority of cases can benefit from some alternative dispute resolution, and just letting people know that there are options out there.
Yeah. I also tell people one of the dangers of going litigation is those kind of matters become 25/8 in your life, meaning your life will be 25 hours a day, divorce, 8 days a week, divorce. You will be taking tons of time off of work. You probably can't because of your divorce. And I know that because my situation was close to 7 years, and it does cost you a job. I mean, employers, they want to be understanding, but there's also clients. There's a team that you need to pay attention to. You can't because you may have to be in court and you need to be present here. So, I mean, this can be a whole domino effect of things. And that's why I tell people really think about, these decisions before you push forward. Try if you can. And that's why I love what you do. Try to keep it like within a conference room, like in a mediation or collaborative setting. Keep moving it forward. don't risk your job. Don't risk, your relationship, with other people. Like, just move things along. You really do come out the winner in all this. You both do. And that should be the priority.
You mentioned that your situation took 7 years and you've described it as harrowing. How did that shape your work and your mission today?
Oh, it was the foundation of what I do. Because again, I often say, I wonder if I knew now what I probably wish I would have known then, if my situation could have been different, if I could have curtailed some stuff and stopped some stuff. I don't know, but everything that happened in those 7 years laid the foundation for everything that I do now. So it's really talking about the situations that happen and explaining these things to people, what court is, why court is so expensive, what court entails, why you think you're going to go in and get them, but that's really not the case. This is not like an episode of Law and Order where this is all tied up in a neat bow and wrapped up pretty in 1 hour. It doesn't work like that. Again, that's television. You need to stay in what, in reality. Reality is cases can drag on for months, even years. And when they do, it's money, 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 and that gets expensive. And people want to know where their life savings went and why it's going to lawyers, because it gets tied up here. I think my situation had to happen the way that it did, as much as I hate to admit that, because like I said earlier, it fueled everything for what I'm doing now. I never want to see couples go through that. I never want to see families and children ripped apart because of that. A lot of what we talk about on the show are solutions to high conflict matters, how to move mediation along, why mediation can become everybody's best friend, the tricks to keeping things moving forward, finding solutions that work for everybody, also with collaborative, and that became a big focus for me. So I always said, I wish there was somebody out there like me when I was going through my divorce. So I knew my options. So I knew the words that I should be listening for. So I knew what a lot of these terms meant, because you sit there and you're like, wait, what? What does that mean? You want me to make a decision? And I'm sorry, can you explain that in English? And everybody, and time is money. And so again, as unfortunate as it was, what happened to me, I think it had to happen in order for all of this to be created and for us to continue to build on it. And we do. The show back in July celebrated 4 years on the air. And the reason we continue to expand and do well from a Saturday show to a Saturday, Sunday, and now podcast on 14 platforms is because it's just taking everything that kind of maybe happened personally, knowing where to find information of other cases, even celebrity cases, and bring them into the spotlight and break them down in a way that everybody can understand what this all means, but most importantly, how to find the solutions.
Yeah, it's amazing what you have created out of such a difficult situation. And I'd love for you to share a little bit more. You talked about the podcast and the radio show, but you now have a streaming series as well. Can you share a little bit more about that and its goals?
Yeah. So, the goal is always to share information, provide free education, resources. We also all our professionals are vetted, so we have screened them to make sure that we are bringing you people that you can really trust to talk about whatever topic it is that, we're addressing in the moment. And here's the thing with divorce. People think divorce is just a legal thing. It's not. It's financial. It's, your mental and emotional health. It's your physical health. It's your lifestyle. It's how to rebuild friendships, how to date, how to blend families. Maybe you want to try to get back in touch with your, ex-family, the mother, father-in-law, maybe how to do that, how to navigate holidays, and maybe you have to move, how to transition maybe from this big house into more of a home. There is a difference, anything and everything that, that we talk about. The big difference between the television show and the radio show is with the TV show, we can use different elements. So we can create full screens where we can kind of like bullet things like, top 5 ways to prioritize your mental health. And we can like list them. Whereas in the radio show, it's all audio. So we kind of like talk about it. But with television, we can be a little bit more, like with the pictures and whatnot and telling the story. A lot of times we have video that can also help tell the story. So you're not just seeing a talking head, you're seeing like, moving pictures that help continue to tell our story. But They both have the same goal. It's just two different mediums, but again, always with the same message. My goal is to reach as many people as, we can. The radio show and the TV show, one thing that they both have in common is because they stream, we can reach people all over the world. So not just here in the United States, but, we reach people all over the globe. And as we know, divorce happens all over the globe. And, we may live in different countries, we may be on different time zones, but the game is still the same. I mean, people are still dealing with how to co-parent. People are still dealing with how can I collect child support. People are still dealing with how do I find a team and why do I even need a team? Isn't it just the attorney? No. People are dealing with how to, get back out there and meet new friends and date again, how to talk to their children. So we may be in all different locations, but it's all the same.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to know, because divorce is such a universal experience, if you've seen any difference connecting across different cultures and communities.
I mean, we hear from a lot of different people and they say, what's happening for you in the United States is happening here. Sometimes people are talking to us and sharing with us developments that are happening where they live to make things a little bit better and easier. There's always going to be laws wherever you live when it comes to divorce. And sometimes the laws are changing. Many of them, at least here in the United States, people feel are very antiquated, but it continues the conversation. And I think the other thing it does, it expands the community. People feel very isolated when they're going through a divorce. I'm here to tell you, your community is global. I mean, there's always people going through it. Social media is a great way to connect with that because a lot of people are on it. They go to places like TikTok, they go to places like Instagram. And the reason some of these content creators have really large followings is because they're bringing things into the spotlight that everyone feels so like only I'm going through it. But then they see somebody make a post or they create a video and they're like, and they're going through it too. And you see all the likes and the comments and you realize, wait a second, oh my God, all these people are going through it. I don't feel so alone anymore. This is something very normal. And it goes back to, yes, you do have a community. You just have to know how to find it.
Absolutely. And social media is a great place to do that, whether, it's a Facebook group that is, supporting folks who are going through it. I know that there are some mental health professionals that provide support groups and that sort of thing. So it's a matter of for those resources and finding them where you are and for the thing that you are in need of.
Yes. And the great thing about that is a lot of these things are free. Sometimes there's a small upcharge because they may do these on a regular basis. But, even if there is a small charge and they meet regularly, it may just be worth it to absorb the cost if it's not too expensive. And I know every $5 in a divorce feels more like 500. But if you can start to meet people and talk to them offline and build friendships that way, even if they're maybe not locally, even if they're like somewhere else, at least it's a voice or a person on the phone. So maybe when you're feeling a little sad, you can call somebody or be in contact with somebody who understands what you are going through and knows what to say to you in that moment. Because somebody who has not been through a divorce is going to just tell you the old standard, oh, I'm so sorry. This must be so difficult. That's not what you need to hear. You need somebody who can say to you, you know what? I completely get it. I remember when this was me, and here's what helped me get through it a little bit easier. And that becomes such a comfort. That's what people need.
100%. Yeah. What's been one of the most rewarding parts of helping others who are going through divorce through your journalism?
I think one of the most rewarding is when people write to me and they tell me how I made the journey a lot easier. I use the word vulnerable. I actually had a friend of mine who was going through it and said, I was listening to your show and some of your experts use terms that you explained in English. And when I heard them during, meetings with my attorney and my husband's attorney, I knew what they meant. And she's like, I felt so empowered in that moment and I gained a lot of confidence and I knew how to make the right decisions because divorce, unlike is constant decisions that you have to make for you and your family. I've had a lot of people reach out saying that I taught them that they're not alone, that they do have a community around them, something you and I just talked about earlier. I also like to give tips and suggestions on how you can do things on a budget. So we've talked about the fun of bargain shopping and taking your kids and how you can turn it into a fun experience. The importance of self-care, and you may not be able to afford a spa But you can go to places like the dollar store where they sell like a lot of these like trial size products, and you can do stuff at home and even turn it into a fun night with the kids at home. People said, Alyssa, I never thought about things like that. I tried it. It worked. I had such a fun time, with the kids. You've taught me that sometimes this can be a very empowering sort of experience. I get it. Divorce is sad and you're saying goodbye to this life, but how exciting that you get a do-over. And now all the things that, maybe you wish the first time you can create for the second time. The importance of loving yourself. I had one woman reach out to me, just like she really hated herself. She had all this mom guilt for filing for divorce. She wasn't sure she was worthy. We did a whole segment about why you are worthy and how to find it. She said that segment really helped her gain the confidence that she needed to get back out there, to get back out. She wanted to get back into the workforce. She wanted to try dating and, the importance of how she can give herself like a little bit of a makeover. Again, we always do it on a budget. And because of all the tips and suggestions we gave, she was able to do that and how great she felt. When I get these kind of emails from people and they write in or they just slide a DM to me on social media, I really do cry because I get what that feels like. I get it, how you're feeling so broken and alone. You're confused. And so, we're trying to take all of that out and do all the heavy work for you. We've also made sure that we've created a safe space for you to listen, where it's not going to be like, I can't, like, I'm just too overwhelmed. I don't have the headspace for it. We're like saying, we create a very relaxing atmosphere. It's very conversational. We pull things and we give you studies to help, improve your diet. Just little tips you can make, and that will give you clarity. And when you have clarity, you won't always feel so angry. We give you tips and suggestions why 10, 15-minute walk outside, step away from the computer, step away from the desk, go outside, can make you feel so much better and get you through the rest of the day when you're feeling so overwhelmed. People take these things and they try them. We explain why you should. And again, very cost conscious, and they share with us how it made such a difference in their lives. And when I know that something I said, something we spoke about helped somebody else in this journey, it is the best feeling ever.
It sounds like you're having a very positive impact on lots of folks who are going through such a difficult time, and by sharing these, tidbits and ideas for them when they're going through these struggles.
You can't think that way when you're going through it because there's so much going on emotionally and mentally, maybe financially, maybe you have to move, you can't. So, but somebody who's walked the path before you, somebody who's a journalist. And as a journalist, I always say that I'm like a scatterbrain. I'm taking the one thing that I cover all the time, which is divorce, and I'm scattering that lots of different ways where I can talk to you and share with you anything and everything I'm uncovering that can help you get through this journey, and even helping the experts, which I hope they can share and help their clients, because when they can embark all of this knowledge on them, it will make the clients easier to manage. It'll make the clients easier to talk to. Clients will be smarter, so it'll help move the process along. The show really is here for everybody.
Well, after you've interviewed so many professionals and survivors, what's one piece of advice you would share with someone who is just starting the divorce journey?
I think the most important piece of advice is do your homework. Just don't pull the plug, jump on emotion, and immediately hire an attorney. What do I mean by that? Usually when people go through divorce, it's, Alyssa, who is your attorney? Whoa. Your situation may not be my situation. So maybe the person I had help me may not be the right fit for you. I always try to tell people, take a step back and do your homework. You made mention to options earlier. Learn what all the options are. See which one is going to be best suited for your situation. I also strongly urge people, especially women, when I say do your homework, learn everything you can about the finances. Why? Please understand what you have, where it is, who the contact person is. Do you have any debts? Make sure you do a title search on any properties you own. You need to know this because when it comes down to it, a divorce is going to be, if you have minor children, custody, visitation, or parenting plan with them, and dividing all the assets. And depending where you live, I'm in New York, it's equitable distribution. If you're like California, it's a community property state. But you better understand if you're going to have somebody advocate for you, whether it's, an attorney, yourself, or like a financial person, better understand what you have, and you better understand what to ask for, because you cannot ask for the stars and the moon. It's not how it works. And you want to go in there, and if you want to move this along, know the facts kind of thing. You'll get done a heck of a lot quicker. So I always tell people homework kind of thing. And also build a team. You can't put all the onus on your lawyer if you're going to use a lawyer. It's just not what they're there for. They're there to help you with the legal aspect of it. Hire an accountant, a certified divorce financial analyst. People abbreviate that to say CDFA. Have a divorce coach if you need them. Hire a mental health professional, maybe like a psychologist, a social worker, to help you. Also get into an exercise program. It really is a game changer when you have an outlet to unleash everything that, that you are feeling. Sit down and talk to your kids and maybe get them a therapist as well. I know this all sounds really expensive, but honestly, it's a lot more cost efficient and beneficial for everyone than spending it on all those legal fees and court fees you don't need to, because you will understand everything that's in front of you. And hopefully everybody will be able to move this along a lot more quickly.
That team is so critical. And we've talked about it before on several of our episodes. But like you said, even though it sounds like there's a lot of people involved and that it's going to be super expensive, ultimately, it does speed the process and actually makes it more cost effective than unnecessarily spending fees in the court process that can drag out, like as you experience, for years.
And you want to be able to be in control of your team. You don't want the attorney that you may retain to bring in all of their people. You may not like their people. You may not gel with their people. I always tell when people write in, I'm like, this is going to be a very intimate relationship you have with these professionals. They need to know everything. I don't mean intimate that way, but they need to know everything. Trust me, your attorney's heard it all. Okay. Trust me, a lot of these like financial people and, they've heard it all, as is the therapist. You're not going to shock them, but you want to make sure that the team you are hiring understands your situation, has experience with your situation, and works with clients that fall into maybe, let's say, your tax bracket kind of thing. And there's professionals maybe who only deal with like people who make this, and maybe you're making this. You want to work with those individuals, and you need to click with them. You need to have that. I can talk to them about anything. I like working with them. They talk to me in a way that I can understand. It may be like going on a few dates. You may have to interview a few until you find the ones that you feel are going to be best suited for your situation. Don't be in such a rush. That's going to be your biggest mistake and your most costly mistake.
Yeah. The only thing I would add to that is also looking for those individuals and professionals that are looking for the same goals, right? So if your goal is to have the amicable resolution, not hiring the pit bull attorney that's known for litigation, and so that your goals are aligned with their best practice areas.
Yeah, because you don't want to get all these exorbitant bills at the end of the month when, their invoices come out. That's going to send your stress and your anxiety through the roof. And nobody wants that. I get it. Divorce is stressful enough and it breaks everybody's heart. But, try to treat this, and I'm sure you say this to your clients all the time, as a business deal. I know that sounds cold to say, but the reason that people say it is because if you leave your emotions and anger at the door, we can get through this a lot faster, which again, saves you a lot of time, money, and aggravation. You don't have to take a lot of time off of work. And in my experience, a lot of times people who work together can come out on the other side and co-parent a lot better. Sometimes they can even find a friendship with each other. Maybe after the dust settles, they can spend holidays, together. There's so much good that can come out of it. And I just try to tell people, just stay open. If you need to vent about, your estranged spouse, get a group of friends together and do it there. Not where the kids can hear you, not to the kids. If you are talking to your estranged spouse's family, not to them. This is between you and your spouse. try to leave it there. It really is going to be a win-win for everybody. But I know when emotions are so raw and they're coming at you and it's also overwhelming, it's hard not to. It goes back to that's why you need the team. That's why you need the therapist. That's why you need an exercise outlet, maybe even a divorce coach, which has gotten very, very popular with people. Hiring all these experts may sound like a lot up front. It really does save you a lot of money in the long run, but people just have to understand that, which may take a minute, but it really does.
100% agree with what you just said, and having that team is critical. Well, Ilyssa, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing not just
Thank you for having me.
Professional journey, but also your courage and compassion for others navigating divorce. You truly have built a space where information and empathy meet and helping so many feel less alone. For all of our listeners, please be sure to tune in to the Divorce Hour with Ilyssa Panitz on CRN Digital Talk Radio Network and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Audible, and Amazon. And don't miss her new TV series, Ways Thru Divorce, on your home TV. We'll be sure to link all of those in the show notes. And as always, you are looking for resources to help you through your own divorce journey, whether emotional, legal, or financial, visit our website in Stan Store and you'll find tools, workshops, and previous podcast episodes to support you. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Remember, your story does not end with a divorce. It just starts your next chapter. Thanks for listening to the Drama-Free Divorce Podcast. If you found today's episode helpful, be sure to follow, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. For more resources or to work with us, visit jacobsonfamilylaw.com. Until next time, stay grounded, stay informed, and stay drama-free.